Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Javier with The Real Javier Novoa, a channel, a platform, and a modality where we apply the principles of philosophy, spirituality, mysticism, and business to rapid lifestyle transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you on Monday evening, I've got a big video for you today, getting to the core, getting to the nitty-gritty. But before we do that, I'd like to invite you, as always, please subscribe and like to the channel if you find value in our material. Go ahead and press the subscribe button below, because not only will you become a member of this community, this growing community of Master Manifestors, you will also be helping us get the word out by helping us to get the algorithm in our favor. The more subscribers we have, apparently, the more exposure that we get on these platforms. So I will give you a second to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for subscribing. So tonight, I've had 2 questions in a row from subscribers last weekend about what is this word, the nitty-gritty, that we always use in this channel, and especially when we're referring to the specific purpose of this channel, which is rapid lifestyle transformation. Because you see, all of the philosophies, all of the modalities, such as philosophy, spirituality, such as law of assumption, law of attraction, and so on and so forth, on this channel are for one purpose. That's making an impact in your life, and especially that's getting you off the prison grid and getting your rapid lifestyle transformation. Specifically, getting you free from a job and a boss within 6 months to a year. And the reason we want to go into some of this tonight, just very briefly, is because we've had other questions about, well, Javier, what about the great teaching of Abraham Hicks, who is probably the master of these modalities during our times, where she talks about going general, and indeed the truth of the fact in the law of assumption and law of attraction that you can just go general and get everything you want. And indeed that's very true, and it is a hugely powerful process that we talk about in many videos of this channel. Indeed, as Vadim Zeland said, it's like giving yourself a tint in a mirror, so to speak, an amalgam that will color your world as the amalgam is colored. Just like in ancient Venice, they would put a golden amalgam behind the mirror and then it would color the reflection. Well, you can have an amalgam that says everything good is coming into my life. Everything is easy for me. As Vadim Zeland said, the world is taking me on a walk. And you can just have things flow easily and effortlessly into your life. The only problem is, and even Abraham Hicks talks about this, that after a little while of that, you have your ebbs and your flows, and you get bored with that. And that's the time when you're in that sort of station of contentment and boredom, when the tools of our channel come into their own. And our channel, even though we go into all of these modalities of going general and so on and so forth, our channel is mainly about getting very specific. And that's what we call the nitty-gritty. So the nitty-gritty is something, just like Zen, that's very difficult to describe in words. Because what it is, the nitty-gritty, is sort of chiseling away all of the extraneous aspects that are basically pushing your desires further away in time and in space, because you have set them up as a barrier. And I want to explain this just a little bit here. So, just to make the illustration very simple, let's say you want a car, okay? But what you're saying is that I want a Jaguar, right? Which is a very expensive car. That's very good and fine. But all things being equal, and of course we say all things being equal because, as we said, words do not do this justice, and this is not a verbal thing. As Krishnamurti said, the word is not the thing. This is an action thing, and the sooner actually you can get away from words and get away from language and just practice this modality, the sooner you will attain mastery of it and become a master manifestor. But you're saying that you want a Jaguar. And that's beautiful. And you can indeed manifest that. Unless it's not truly your desire. And what do we mean by not truly your desire? Again, going into a very helpful concept that Vadim Zeland went into in reality transurfing. He basically says, any desire that you have because you think it will please others, which is of course rubbish, first of all, because others don't care, or because you think that you should have that desire, you have some kind of ethical imperative towards having that desire, that is actually resistance. And that's actually giving something importance. And as we know, the more importance you give to something, due to the vibrational resonance of that feeling, and due to what Vadim Zeland calls balancing forces, the further back you push that in time. So what we teach in this channel, and what all of the great spiritual teachers taught, like Neville Goddard, like even Abraham Hicks, like all of the self-help and motivational and business coaches out there, this is where we all meet. And that is, you get very clear about what your desire is, and you chunk away all of the dross, because that makes it very clear. It gives you a very definite point of focus, and that helps you not to look, as the great Islamic scholar said, do not look to the right or the left, because the more you look to the right and the left, the more you're dissipating your focus. And the name of the game, ladies and gentlemen, is focus. Neville Goddard said that imagination is Christ himself. The word that we use for imagination that we believe on this channel is more helpful, and what many coaches have used, is focus. Because focus includes a wider array of concepts. It could be visualization, it could be hearing, it could be simply getting into that state and that knowing. But it's focus. I remember one time there was an Abraham Hicks seminar, and someone was going on and on about all of the issues that they were focusing upon, and they had mixed emotions about him. And Abraham Hicks calls the faculty by which you focus, what we would probably call on this channel your intellect or your nous. She calls it your pointer. And she said if your pointer were a machine gun, we would all be dead. Because the person was not focusing on one point. And as we just know from the simple laws of physics, if you dissipate anything, its power is dissipated. That's why laser can cut through stone, because of the power of focus. So the nitty-gritty means getting into that extreme focus. Now, the only question is, at what time is it appropriate to get into that extreme focus, and at what times is it appropriate to let that go? That's part of the training that we're giving you in this channel, because this is something that you have to get a feel for yourself. For example, when you first wake up, the first thing you should do is meditate, and that is, as Abraham Hicks says, the ultimate of going general. You should focus generally, because when you do that, your emotional resonance goes up, and then your vibration goes up. Because remember, again, all things being equal, if you try to focus upon your desire in a state of extreme negative emotion, it's going to backfire. Because although you'll be imagining details of that desire, your focus is actually focused on the 180 degree opposite of that, and therefore you're attracting that at that moment. Now, this is all within the realm of duality, because we know in the unity, at root, we're divine. So all of this is just a game anyway, and at any time you can get into that state of what many great teachers, I believe the Course of Miracles, calls vertical living. That's living from a knowing of your divinity, and then it doesn't matter how you feel. But that act of feelings and vibrations still plays out. It's like the path to it, but you're simply then allowing yourself to be guided to it. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you do or how you feel, because you will get there. However, as individuals, we came here to have our hands in the clay, and for the purposes of the game, when you're in the game and you're consciously playing the game, then you have to follow the rules of the game. And law of attraction is the rule of the game. Of course, you can go to another game, but law of attraction will also be applied to the rules of that game. I hope you understand me just a little bit. So here in everything in focus and so on and so forth, and the nitty gritty, we're talking about in the game. And on this channel, we're here to play the game. We're not here to escape Earth. We're here to enjoy life. We're here to suck all of the marrow, so to speak, out of life. We're here to devour it and to savor it. And so therefore, that's why we focus, and that's why we get into the nitty gritty. So, the nitty gritty, ladies and gentlemen. Minimalism, parts of it, as have been expounded by different authors and individuals, and we're going to be going into this in other videos, is a very good way, it's a symbol, so to speak, to get down to that nitty gritty. It's a good way to cut off all of the dross. So, for example, if you want a car, let's say, it could be a Jaguar. Or you could ask yourself, okay, what do I want this car for? And eventually, as you whittle that down in journaling, which is a very powerful tool, because it's nothing else than contemplation. Writing, all it does is help you hold your focus upon something, and when your mind wanders, if it's upon the page, there's more of an ossified and solidified product of that you can put your focus on. And again, it's all about focus. So, as you journal, you can say, well, I want this car to get me somewhere. I want it to get me somewhere seamlessly. I want it to feel very good. I want it to have good maintenance, that I can go anywhere and have it maintained and so forth and so forth. I want it to have a warranty. I want it to drive reasonably well. I want it to be read. And you'll find that a Toyota or a Honda will serve you just as well as the Jaguar. But why did you want the Jaguar? Through journaling, you realize it was just to show off to my friends and so forth. And this is not your desire. So therefore, that's already bringing resistance into the mix. That will push it further back from you in time and space. That's what we teach on this channel. A lot of our desires are imposed upon us by what we call the prison grid. Because the prison grid wants you chasing your shadow, so to speak, chasing your tail, running around in circles, and not actually getting down to why you came. As we talked about in the video yesterday. Everything you want is for the enjoyment of the process, and so that you can get to the next step of enjoying another process, or what many people may call another problem. So why not just work on the loving problems now? Why not act as if you've chosen this very step in this very moment, as we talked about beginner's mind, that this very moment is the only step, and why not just dedicate yourself to that and give yourself to that? That is getting down, ladies and gentlemen, to the nitty-gritty, getting down to the essence. That's minimalism, and indeed that's stoicism. That's why we bring so many of these modalities to bear in this channel. And this is the way, ladies and gentlemen, that you're going to get free from the prison grid within 6 months to a year, depending on your pace and so on and so forth, because you're going to be focusing on the nitty-gritty. You're going to be cutting off the dross. You're going to be journaling about what it is that you really want, and it's more attainable even in this film roll. Because remember, you can get to any film roll, but it takes focus. And by the way, the more energy that's freed up on this film roll, the more focus is freed up. But there are many things that you can have right now on this film roll without changing a lot. For example, if I'm hot in this room, right, and I have a fan next to me, I have the fan going next to me, it's very hot. I could focus upon it being cooler, and indeed many people do this, and I've done this to success outside. I focused on the weather, and it's actually become cooler. And Mike Popovich actually had a video where someone did this real time, that they actually focused upon cooler weather and they got into that state, and then it started becoming cloudy, it started getting cooler weather. Also, Greg Braden has the famous story about the Native American whom he went with to pray rain. And this Native American basically just sat down. He felt the feelings of what it would be like to have his feet in the water, of what it would be like to have abundant rain. And indeed, that very night, I believe, there was flooding in that area. So this is doable. However, like we said last night, or I believe the night before last, focus and priorities are necessary, because in the physical, you can only focus on one thing at one time. So if I'm in a room where I have a fan, do I focus upon it being cooler? I could do that as a practice step, but it's much easier for me to just turn on the fan, and that's something that I can do in this film roll right now. I don't have to wait to get to another film roll. And in doing that, I free up my energies to focus on a more important film roll, or the nitty-gritty of the priority that I have. So, a great author said, I was watching an interview with Stephen Pressfield, and he said, never do yourself what another can do. Only do what uniquely you can do. And we can translate that to the language of this channel. Do not seek any other desire except your desire. Don't seek the desires of others and try to make them your desires. Of course you can do that too. And Vadim Zeland talks about it. By focus, by imagining, you can make a desire your desire. And all of our desires have some element of that. All of our desires are conditioned. In fact, anything that you can sense, even your own body and your own mind and so on and so forth, is a condition. The only unconditional is the core of you, that is consciousness. But for the sake of the game, to make that as unconditional as possible means that you can get to it in an instant, you can focus upon it, and you can fill in the details. That's what the nitty-gritty means in this channel. And I hope you're following us just a little bit. So cut off the dross, focus on what your desire truly is, focus on what's truly important, and get specific. And when you find yourself falling, when you find it seeming like hard work, as it often will many times a day, if you're not there at least 2 times a day, then you're not playing a big enough game, as the great David Allen said. But focus on what you want, and then when you get to a state of overwhelm, then go general and enjoy that generality. And even you can take retreats and take some days where you just go general. And it will all come to you. But it's just a lot funner focusing on the nitty-gritty, focusing on the specifics, getting specific, and then knowing that you're able to create that masterpiece by manifesting on the physical from the spiritual. So I hope that helped us a little bit to know what the nitty-gritty is. We have a lot of exciting videos coming up this week. We do release a long-form video every day. So I ask you again, if you've not subscribed, please subscribe and like to the channel. You'll be getting alerts for all of our content. Also, I'm doing coaching calls, ladies and gentlemen. I have some every day now. It's a modality that is growing. I'm helping individuals, I'm helping businesses, and we're also doing email coaching, which is another option for those with lower or smaller budgets. So please do email me. I will put my email in the description. We will schedule a call and we'll deliver a power punch to the conditions of your life, get you free from a job and a boss, or get anything that you want to manifest on the physical. I will bring my years of experience in business and consulting to bear to help you with that and to get to the nitty-gritty. So ladies and gentlemen, until tomorrow, this is Javier with the Real Javier Novoa with much love and appreciation. I'll see you soon. Good night.